So that's the most important thing, is that it can get to the context of the data quicker, and that was what was revolutionary about this attention
Yeah.
mechanism, essentially.
So with that being like widely available to everyone, then like many more companies now can try their own chances, try their own experiments with reasoning, and so we'll probably see the advent of the next generation reasoning models from open source. Like there was a research from OpenAI where they showed that like just like in the human brain, the same neuron can be activated when it looks at the text Haley Berry and the actual image of Haley Berry. And same for Spider-Man. When you see the word Spider-Man and the picture of Spider-Man, the same neuron gets activated in our brain. And what they proved with that research was that.
Alan, thank you for coming on the Robots of Korea, my man.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
thanks for having me,
Yeah.
Harry. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Alan, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what it is that you do?
Sure. So my name is Alan Kashkash, and I'm mostly known from my AI adventures. I'm currently a chief AI officer at AIRecruit, which is the startup, the venture that we're building to help automate the process of job interviews, where instead of a human recruiter, you can apply an AI recruiter. An AI recruiter would have a direct interview with the candidate to screen for the best candidates for you. On a separate note, I also work at a Silicon Valley based company, Provectus, which offers ML consultancy and delivers AI projects for many of the large companies of this world. Besides that, I'm also AI lead and partner at Bali AI Bootcamp, where we quite frequently offer some seminars and workshops all around Bali. And yeah, well, that would make it.
Yeah, a lot going on. So you mentioned something in your talk. You said your ML is what you said, which is machine learning. So I have a question for you, which I think people would
Yes.
be interested to know. What is the difference between machine learning and AI? How do we define it?
Well, I don't think there is any difference. It's just
It's just
rather the matter of
uh,
words. Like I think AI got like more accepted into mm, the entire society, and while ML is more like the scientific term. So it's all now we're practically talking about the same thing. Before there were like you could find some diagrams showing that like ML is a subset of AI, but is it really? Well, before there was also a split like okay, like the smaller subset of ML is deep learning. I think these terms are now used interchangeably.
It's interesting because I think that when people say machine learning, like, okay, these people really know what they're talking about. When we're talking about machine learning, it seems now like a byword for some of the algorithms and some of the algebra that goes on inside some of
Yeah.
the models. Yeah,
Yeah, I have the feeling that when someone refers to that as ML, then that they know something about this.
right.
Where like AI is like when I speak to people who are not really tech savvy, I would rather use the word AI for ML.
How do you think the dynamic has changed? Because obviously you started your career as a machine learning engineer, and now you're chief AI officer.
Yeah.
How has the dynamic changed? Because I know that when you first got into this, machine learning was really a discipline that took place in universities. It was quite a nerdy subject, and most people would
Yeah.
just fall asleep if you talk to them about it. And
Yeah.
then suddenly, of course, after November 2022, there was a huge explosion of interest, and we've seen a shift away from it being this small niche subject in a university to it being in private companies and there being a huge amount of money in it. What has been your experience of that shift and everybody suddenly being interested in this topic?
Yeah, I think it changed because the applications became more broad. Like if you look back at it, it started in 2012. I mean, it's like the first mentions of
Yeah.
AI were like much earlier. Like dating back to Alan Turing. But like the modern use of AI, the time when we started scaling AI started in 2012 with AlexNet, provided by Jeff Hinton. Ilya Sutskever was working on it as well. That was the first time when they achieved much better score on ImageNet than other participants using deep learning.
And ImageNet, we should probably say. Do you want to explain a little bit about what that is for people that don't know?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
ImageNet is this benchmark where you apply algorithms to distinguish different classes, different objects in the pictures, and it consists of 100 different classes. And it was started by Fei Fei Li, who's a research professor at Stanford, one of the godfathers of AI, you may say. Yeah, so given that it started in 2012, I only got into it more like, I think did first reads in like 2017, started tinkering like 2019. It was much different because like you couldn't do all this generative stuff. That was the time when AI could read, it couldn't write. And I think people started freaking out when it started writing. But even back then, like you could find memes on the internet that AI is taking over. It changed in a nice way. Like before, yeah, some of these parts were just boring. I mean, like predictive modeling. Well, okay, but this is not nearly half as fun as it is now.
So we should say that like AI technology is essentially a probability machine, right? It's just
Yes,
detecting patterns and detecting what comes next,
yes.
and through a series of very complicated mathematical probability predictions, I guess, in the back
Yeah,
end.
you may
Yeah,
look at it like
yeah,
through the concept of calculus, because calculus is all about approximation. So we approximate the word model. We put all the word data that we have, and we teach these models to approximate this data. So then it learns the word model and can do approximation through the iterative improvement, which is the training of the model, and then it can approximate our world model by outputting some of the things about our world.
yeah, right. And I guess when you started, before we were talking about words and text, it was really just numbers, right? I guess it was just detecting what number comes next in the sequence, or in the case of ImageNet, what image comes next, or is the correct image. Just labeling data, really.
Yeah, yeah. When I started, do you know Kaggle? Kaggle is this online competitions where you apply ML models. I was spending a lot of time on Kaggle,
Okay.
just playing with predictive modeling training.
This just sounds a bit like Wordle, this game for ML engineers or some
Wordo?
voice. Yeah, it's like a quiz game that you can play every day with little clues, and you have to figure it out.
Oh, I didn't know
So
about
yeah,
this.
yeah.
I have to
So this
try
is
it.
I feel like it's a similar concept, but for machine learning engineers, for the real geeks, right? You could just go on and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was fun, especially like during university time
yeah,
when you have some spare time on the weekends, and
yeah.
you back then I was living in Warsaw. Yeah, you can use that time to like tinker with the models, apply different feature engineering, and then you get like from 60% accuracy to like 90% accuracy. It's satisfying to see like you get a better score.
Yeah, I imagine. What if you could avoid hours spent looking through Reddit threads, YouTube videos, and blog posts searching for the one AI tool that actually works? I'm Harry Verity, co founder and course leader at AI to the World. For over 2 years, I've watched marketeers and business peoples waste thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours trying to crack the AI code on their own. But here's the truth. The AI landscape changes weekly, if not daily. What worked last month might be obsolete today. I know that many of you might be overwhelmed by the amount of information that is on the market today, tired of contradictory advice from self proclaimed experts, and maybe becoming frustrated at trying to separate AI hype from reality. But this is exactly why we built the AI to the World community. Imagine having a weekly Q&A session with trusted AI experts who are in the trenches with all the latest tools. direct access to trusted and vetted organizations who can solve your technical challenges, a community of like-minded business owners and professionals, a curated vault of proven resources, exclusive discounts on our battle-tested courses. And of course, you don't have to take my word from it. You can check out our testimonials from researchers at OpenAI and a senior engineer at Visa. But here's the exciting part. You can access this entire AI ecosystem of AI expertise for less than your daily cup of coffee. Monthly access is £19.99. 6-month access is £12.99 a month. And we're also offering an exclusive Founders Special for just $7.99 a month. Think about it. One post in our dedicated WhatsApp group could save you hundreds of hours of trial and error and potentially thousands of dollars on wasted AI tool subscriptions that don't work. The question isn't whether AI is going to transform marketing, it's whether you're going to be ahead of the curve or playing catch up. Click below to join the AI to the World community today, but remember, the exclusive founders discount is only available for the first 50 signups. Looking forward to connecting with you in the AI to the World community. And I think things changed dramatically in around 2017, from what I understand, when the paper "Attention is All You Need" came out. I know that was another big moment.
Yeah, Google researchers released that paper. They were recently hosted, all of them, by Jensen Huang at, I think, in Taiwan at the
And
Computronics
he's the
conference.
CEO of NVIDIA, right?
Yes. He collected all of them, all of the authors. Some of them left Google to start their own startups. One of them, which is a Polish guy, by the way. Also, since I'm from Poland. Łukasz Kaiser, he's now research staff member at OpenAI. Yeah, so some of them started their own businesses. Some of them now even sold these businesses back to Microsoft or Google. This paper changed a lot. This paper showed like, oh, okay, we don't have to use LSTMs or GRUs or RNNs. We can try with a different architecture, transformer, and initially it was applied to sequence tasks, meaning like translation. But then eventually, OpenAI released GPT, companies started and research organizations started pushing it more towards autoregressive tasks. And the difference is the autoregressive is just it outputs the next token. It's like for language modeling task, which is guess what would be the next word I'm gonna say.
So these are all essentially for people who are just business people who are just getting into AI. These are all essentially different techniques that are used in the back end of these models: autoregressors, RNNs, recurrent neural networks. And then the attention mechanism came out, hence this paper, "Attention is All You Need." Can you explain the basics, as basic as you can, why that attention mechanism was so important and so transformative to what happened in AI, and why that was such a big moment?
Yeah, it's because attention helps us to better contextualize. Like it pays attention, it learns to what other words it should pay attention in the sequence. Meanwhile, previous approaches were handling the data mostly sequentially. So while handling it sequentially, it maybe I'm taking ahead of myself. Let's take a step back. How attention works is that we take that token, right? A word of explanation. Let's imagine a token is a word. Okay, let's say the word squirrel.
Right, yeah, so we should explain to everybody that when you type something to ChatGPT or to any LLM, essentially converts those words into numbers, essentially, or some of the, usually it's about 4 characters to every number, and we call those numbers a token. And the more tokens you have, the more expensive your output is going to be.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yes. So it's token is still like a text representation, But then every token has its numerical representation, which is called the embedding.
Yep.
Yeah, and then like basically, since these are machines that use calculus under the hood, they do all these calculations using these numbers, these embeddings. But the text representation of these numbers will be this token, and token is usually, well, like let's take a word infrequently. It would probably split this word, like most tokenizers would split this word in freq went, maybe like this is, if this is also like frequently used, and Li would be a separate token, like using subword representations. Anyhow, to not complicate it
Yes.
further, yeah, we have these tokens now. Now, now let's take a sentence: squirrel eats peanuts, right? So it would learn what's the relation between squirrel and peanuts and eat, and it would learn the like in the attention mechanism we usually have like multiple heads. We call it multi-head attention, and these heads learn different parts of this sentence. They learn, for example, about grammar structures, learn about like the dependency of like one word versus the other. So when we apply like multiple heads of attention and all this attention all this attention mechanism in parallel takes the token and compares it to different other tokens within the sentence, then it learns to like how to contextualize this data. What's the context of this data?
So that's the most important thing, is that it can get to the context of the data quicker, and that was what was revolutionary about this attention
Yeah.
mechanism, essentially. Whereas before, it was just having to analyze every little bit of data in the sequence, yeah,
Yes.
one by one.
That, and also the fact that we could really scale it. Like
Yeah,
LSTM was hard to scale. RNNs were hard to
yeah.
scale.
And LSTM is long short-term memory, right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
yeah. That was a paper, that was
yeah,
an algorithm published in 1999. Its author, Jürgen Schmidhuber. He was, I listened to him once speaking at the conference. He has a very high self-esteem. And well, I mean, that was apparently the most cited paper in computer science in 20th century. Perhaps it was, but you know, I looked at his X profile, and he claims to have more inventions than he actually did. Like he,
okay, so, yeah.
yeah, and like he claims he also invented transformer in like 90s, which is not something that like, actually happened.
Evan. But the point is that where we are now with ChatGPT, I feel like people think that this came out of nowhere. All this technology, Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini. In fact, there is this long arc of history of small incremental moments that added up to each other to get where we are now, that have all lined on top of each other with, as you said, the paper on LSTMs, then 2012, 2013, and then we had the attention is all you need and the attention mechanism in 2017.
Yeah,
But suddenly there was this moment where it feels like the public became aware of it and everything completely changed in 2022. So I'm interested in how far like that has changed, I guess, your fortunes, in that now it feels like every company wants a chief AI officer or a chief machine learning engineer, whereas before perhaps those opportunities weren't available. And also feels like the public are far more interested in this now and have a far more huge appetite for it that they didn't perhaps have before.
yeah, yeah. I think the most significant change is it was even before companies were interested in hiring data
Yeah.
scientists, data engineers, data analysts, because we started the age of big data. Like the influx of data was real, and companies had to somehow deal with all this data, and they learned that like data driven decisions are better. So they realized the potential and the importance of having data people, and especially data scientists here. But with more and more coming from the ML side, it gave birth or it gave a widespread adoption of machine learning engineer role. So you may still find that a lot of companies actually hire data scientists who has AI knowledge. And this is called data scientist and not ML engineer, just because they were accustomed to this role. Now, I think since like LLMs became more prevalent, now we have like bigger division of duties between these two roles, where like ML engineers focus more on like improving the models, solving the problems with the models, deploying the models, while data scientists maybe operate within like previous realms of machine learning. So maybe predictive modeling, maybe aspects like where there is actual data science, not machine learning.
It does seem like we have like people who are very much trying to apply the current technology as it is, and then there are people, the really smart, clever people. Shout out to Kanesh, my friend who works at OpenAI, who are, yeah, just as you say, trying to work on some of the problems with LLMs and trying to enhance the research and the technology.
Yeah.
Without going into, I guess, too much technical detail that we sort of alienate people, like, what are some of the main challenges and what are some of the things that these guys at OpenAI and Anthropic are actually working on? If you're an ML engineer, what are some of the problems that we sort of face with LLMs? Perhaps other than hallucinations, that's obviously the big one.
Yeah, that's a big
Yeah.
one. Well, I think now the efficiency of performing long chains of thought. So like this, all this reasoning, whether we do it the right way, well, we're just like scratching the surface of it. So now, what they did with O3, they applied different computational budgets. It's still unclear to me how do you, like, change the length of the thinking process.
And O3 is the latest model from ChatGPT. O3 Mini has literally just come out a week before recording this,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a few
yeah.
days ago. Yeah,
DeepSeek R1 forced them to
we
do
are
that.
going to talk about that in a minute. Yeah, yeah. But so the reasoning is the thing that you think that they're kind of working on at the moment, probably.
I would say so that
Yeah,
like probably the most resources are put there now,
yeah.
and also NIPS, Neural Information Processing Systems, the biggest AI conference in the world. The top paper award went to a guy from TikTok who published a paper on the new algorithm for text to image generation. So maybe we'll also probably companies explore that direction as well to improve text to image models and
Yeah.
apply different architecture.
Yeah, I want to ask you this question about reasoning, which I think is really interesting. Which is, I guess, the first part of the question is how do we define reasoning? The second part, which I find really interesting, is when you start to break down this so-called reasoning and these reasoning models, and you look into it, you see that it does feel like they've just essentially strung some agents together behind the scenes. They're sort of doing chain of thought prompting, and then they're creating a little army of different iterations of the model to check each other's progress. So it seems to me that you could, and they're also, of course, doing reinforcement learning as well, but some of these practices, you could do them yourself and have more control over them if you were to set them up in a framework. But these reasoning models, you're essentially just giving OpenAI the ability to make those decisions for you to come out with the best results, and you don't maintain the control. How far is that true, or how far is actually what they're doing with reasoning models an entirely new technology, and they're doing things that you wouldn't be able to do if you set them up on your own? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but you're throwing me under the bus here because
Uh,
it's very little that we actually
no,
know. I
yeah.
mean, like if you're not working for OpenAI and you're not like actively researching reasoning, then like it's very hard to answer. I'll answer you this question given what I read from the
Right.
DeepSeek R1 paper, what I found fascinating.
Yeah.
So first, to answer the question, how do I define reasoning? Um, well, I would say probably taking more time more time and like mental resources to solve the problem.
Is that mental resources or is that compute power?
I mean, like to like find the common denominator for humans and machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you can call it compute
Yeah,
power.
I'm always suspicious when people say it's thinking. I feel like it sends out the wrong message that these things are sentient and coming to get us, and they're not really. Yeah,
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 yeah, I think is the right word for is
yeah,
anthropomorphizing. People have the tendency to
to,
anthropomorphize things.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's why it's thinking now.
yeah,
Yeah, well, that's a very good question. I think reasoning is this like I don't have to answer you now. I can take some time and I can like break down this problem into smaller sub problems and go step by step in like solving them. Yeah, but I think like given that all these reasoning models are available now, we are actually starting to think more about the definitions of these words. Like I found a very good definition of what is the intelligence from Yoshua Bengio, one of the
very
godfathers
smart
of
guy.
AI.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think he said, I'm not sure, but I think that was he who said, intelligence is the ability to process information. And if you look at it this way, then you realize, oh, then maybe like we can create much more intelligent creatures than ourselves if this is only about the information processing.
yeah, that's very interesting to think that perhaps perhaps we're being dismissive of the technology. Perhaps I mean, that's essentially what we're trying to do. What OpenAI is trying to do is create um, technology that is superior in intelligence to us, so it can solve problems that we can't on our own. Which
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
which is the goal.
And in several aspects, they already managed to do that.
Yeah,
I mean, if you ask me a question like, what's like the deepest point in the ocean? Yeah, I know there's a Mariana Trench, but I don't know the depth. But when like you ask ChatGPT and it will give you
it
the
knows
answer.
immediately. It says it's 12,000 blah blah blah
Yeah,
kilometers under the sea. So
so you know the answer.
someone's gonna fact check me. I don't know whether I know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, But yeah, I guess we can't avoid talking about it any longer. Um, DeepSeek. We're recording this perhaps 2 weeks after DeepSeek has come out and after they
Mm-hmm.
launched R1. To say that it has set the the cat amongst the pigeons is it would be an understatement. You're in a unique position, Alan, in being able to explain this to us. What the hell is going on with DeepSeek, and what do you think is gonna happen as a result of it? Is it really a more intelligent model than what OpenAI has been able to achieve? And how do you think the fact that this is an open source model that is of a similar ability just out there in the public domain, how's that going to affect the whole AI landscape over the next year?
Many good questions
Yeah,
here. So I think we should probably start from the fact that reasoning models were not available in open source before. They were only available from OpenAI, starting with O series, and then we had DeepSeek. Then we had before I think we had QWQ from maybe Alibaba, some Chinese company. They did some reasoning model, but it wasn't on par with O series from OpenAI. Meanwhile, DeepSeek was. So it became huge because before open source didn't have that technology in place. No one released the model of this performance, and no one published a paper how they did that. Meanwhile, team from DeepSeek, they published also a paper, and they outlined several important aspects of like how to train these models to get that reasoning performance, to 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 teach the model to reason through multiple steps using a lot of tokens. So with that being like widely available to everyone, then like many more companies now can try their own chances, try their own experiments with reasoning, and so we'll probably see the advent of the next generation reasoning models from open source. At the same time, I think second thing that really astounded the world was price. Like it's with O1, you had like 50 requests per week from OpenAI, so it must have been very expensive for them. Meanwhile, with DeepSeek, they I don't know what's the like price ratio compared to O series, but price was significantly lower, and to the extent that they gave this access to this model for free on their website. Like ChatGPT, you can access the DeepSeek R1 on DeepSeek website and use it for free with all this reasoning. So that's what really astounded the world. And I think the next caveat coming from this is, well, they also showcased that you can do reinforcement learning without supervised fine tuning, which are two techniques to train these models, and you can achieve reasoning without supervised fine tuning first.
Yeah. So yeah. Let's just break that down a little bit for viewers who are not technical. In a nutshell, what is reinforcement learning, and why is it important for
So,
models?
so reinforcement learning takes advantage of MDP, Markov decision processes, and this is basically the idea can be boiled down to a simple: we ha- we have an agent, right? We have an actor in the environment. So let's say game Witcher. We have a Witcher. We have the world in which he operates, and now you have to like level up your character. So to level up your character, you have to kill the monster. So you learn how to like fight the monster, and once you successfully kill the monster, you get some experience points, some maybe gold. You're getting some reward, right? So we apply the same patterns to this reinforcement learning agent, that by interacting with the environment, he either gets a negative reward if he gets killed by these monsters because he fought very badly, or he gets a positive reward when he killed the monster, and now he gets gold, and now he can use this gold to buy a better sword, to buy a better armor. So in this way, model learns like, oh, okay, I have to do things like this and not like this, because in this way I'll get the positive rewards. And the objective function, the ultimate goal for that agent is to maximize the reward function. So like to get the most gold in
Right.
like human
It's like,
terms.
essentially it's almost like a dog, and you're giving it a treat every time it manages to complete a trick or it behaves
Exactly.
right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Exactly. But the difference between reinforcement learning and RHL, reinforcement human in the
Reinforcement learning with human feedback.
yeah,
Yeah.
with human feedback, is that the human is not involved. This is just basically a auto process that goes on as they gather more data from the model, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because
Yeah.
this is just applying reinforcement learning
Yep.
on top of the model.
Yep.
RLHF includes the human annotated data. So like you have like two versions of the same response. Like you ask ChatGPT, hey, should I go surfing? One version of the response is, let's fucking go. The second is, oh, I don't know if water is too cold. uh, if it's not too cold. And then you feel like, hey, I want to be positive in life.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about whether water is clean cold. I will check it myself. Let's choose the first version. And then we teach the model like to be better aligned with our preferences. Like we want to be positive.
And really, we've hit the nail on the head for why this technology is so transformative, because it literally just keeps getting better and better and better the more that we use it. And now we think about how many people are using this technology now across the world, and how many more responses and how much data is being generated to actually improve the models. It's quite extraordinary.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah, yeah.
exponential in its growth. So getting back to DeepSeek, and the fact that they were able to actually put out something that competes with OpenAI's reasoning models, their O1 and now their O3 models. I guess my next question: how do you think they did it?
Well, I think
And,
they.
and by the way, we should just explain briefly, when I said how do we think we do it. It probably wasn't that they had better research, maybe that they did. the reason we ask how they do it is because OpenAI is closed source, that, as you said, they've not published any of their papers. So either they're absolutely extraordinary researchers, or perhaps they've maybe.
Distill the knowledge from all series.
Right. Talk
Yeah,
us through what that means and what you think they might have done to actually get to the with DeepSeek. Yeah.
yeah. Well, so the knowledge distillation is a process that you take a big model, like someone trained in the first place, and now you get the data, synthetic data from that model, and using this synthetic data from that model, you train your own model. So for like very little money, I don't know if it was it like Stanford spent like $800, they got like 80% of GPT-3 performance, like a week after GPT-3 was released. So you can distill the knowledge from a larger model and in a much cheaper way, because you just fine tune the model using the distilled knowledge from synthetic data. So well, they mentioned that they did 600,000 reasoning samples for training and 200,000 samples of non-reasoning data to train the model. Whether they took it from OpenAI, then didn't disclose that in the paper. Well, perhaps, yeah. We may never know.
So we so to break this down, what you do, and Meta did this with their models, Llama with their Llama 3 models.
Yeah,
You have your larger model essentially create synthetic data. So you
yeah,
just ask it to churn out data which reflects the data that's in their model, but it's very deeply compressed, right? So not
yeah,
all the data that's based on it, but enough of a representative sample that it can be used to train a smaller model. And
exactly.
training a smaller model takes up less computational power than a bigger model. That's the main difference, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, yes, yes. A smaller model has like less layers, so less parameters.
yeah,
So like when we discuss a scaling laws, there is like a power
yeah.
law relation between the compute budget and the amount of data and the model size. Yeah, you probably remember that from my
Yeah, yeah,
presentation 2 weeks
I
ago.
do. Yeah, Alan gave a very good presentation about AI scaling law. It's very, very
Thank you.
insightful. Yeah. Um, it just feels like then people have just basically found the cheat code. They've just said, Chat GPT, I want you to write me out like everything that's in your knowledge base within like 100,000 words, and that they've spat that out, and
Yeah.
then essentially just fine tuned on that. And when you think about that, you're like, oh, anyone could have done that in a way. Why didn't someone not think of that before? Yeah,
Oh, but
yeah.
I
But I'm
think
sure
that
it's more complicated than that, right? Yeah, but
yeah,
yeah,
but I think it would be like a bit maybe an understatement on DeepSeek team, because
yeah,
it's like people who do steroids.
yeah.
Like yeah, maybe they do steroids, but they also train very hard at the gym. And I think what DeepSeek team did is they applied several techniques that I would say are maybe more risky in a way that like I remember meta researcher when they were working on llama saying that, oh, we don't know what can be applied at scale, so some of these techniques like they still went for RLHF, not DPO, a different technique for
The
like
RHLF is where you keep humans in the loop, right? Reinforcement
RLHF, like reinforcement learning
learning
with
with
human
human
feedback.
feedback. Yeah, what we talked about earlier. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So these are two different post-training
yeah.
techniques, because it's safe to do something at scale. When you spend like millions of dollars, then maybe you don't want to take a big risk with like trying a new technique, which is totally understandable. But what really impressed me about DeepSeek is that they applied multi-token prediction. So multi-token prediction was like normally we just predict one token, right? And in
So
all
like
this.
one token at a time, right? So it predicts one and then the other and then the next. Yeah,
Exactly, yeah, one by one.
yeah.
But like Meta published a paper, the like multi-token prediction, and then they followed up on this paper by releasing 7 billion parameter models using multi-token prediction. But I've never seen multi-token prediction on this scale. And DeepSeek with not R1 but with V3 model, they applied multi-token prediction, and they applied MOE, mixture of experts architecture. So I think like combining several like more advanced techniques that haven't been applied on scale, first of all allowed them to like save a lot on the compute power. Oh, and I think this was like the third caveat of like DeepSeek R1. That like the cost of it was
Right.
amazing.
Yeah. We're
S-
talking about I think the total cost of training was 6 or 7 million. And
Yeah,
how
something like this.
and it's hundreds of millions to train a GPT-4 or a llama
Yeah,
3.
they didn't
So
disclose how much it
yeah,
is, but
but you're talking about a reduction in costs by a factor of 10 at least.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
which
it's
is
so
huge.
much different.
So then what does that mean going forward? If a company, any private company, only needs a couple of $1 million to train an LLM that's as good as GPT-4, what does that mean from a business perspective for the business model going forward? Do you think we're going to reach a point where like there's 50, 100 LLMs, maybe even thousands of LLMs, where maybe instead of companies bringing out GPT wrappers, they actually just train their own for their own specific purposes, and you run them on your computer? What does the landscape look like in the next year or two from this moment?
Yeah, I wouldn't go as that far that like companies will start pre-training their own models. Yeah, it's usually like if you're building a foundational model, this is like a full-time job. This should become your core
Right.
business. So maybe it will be more accessible. Like more research labs will get funding from VCs to build foundational models since they can actually do that in a cheap way. But for companies, for like large enterprises, them pre-training a model, oof, oh boy. No, I think that would be a mess.
We're gonna need 10 Alan Kashkashes to go around, and yeah,
Yeah, but like even if like you have fantastic scientists and engineers in like large corporation, many things can happen. Like
right,
the communication becomes an issue.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's what do you think it means for OpenAI? I mean, I saw Sam Altman basically saying on a Reddit forum that he thinks they were on the wrong side of history. Pretty strong
Yeah.
words, and that they are considering releasing now some of the data as open source. Like, what does that mean for the business model of these models going forward if all the code and the weights is all in the public domain?
I think I'm pretty sure they will not release anything like very recent. They may
Yes.
release some of the like maybe GPT-3
Yeah.
source code. So it will be interesting from the time perspective to look into that and see like, oh, so that's how they handle problems like X and Y. But like more up to date things, I think if like with this prices being reduced, it will certainly allow for like more widespread adoption. But I don't think like prices are the problem. I think like the biggest problem with reasoning models is the lack of understanding how to use them. So I may be wrong. I may be wrong because I do my things and I
Yeah.
don't really follow how companies adopt reasoning models. But in my perception, like I don't even know how to properly use reasoning models. Like I don't have problems that are like that complicated. So like applying this so powerful models to problems that really require reasoning, it will be. I think it's like another issue that we have to solve.
That's really interesting. So you think, in a way, the technology is almost like a runaway. It's like it's this technology is coming out, and we're not even scratching the surface for how we actually can use it.
I think that as the research progresses, the adoption becomes a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think many people follow what is happening in the world of AI to the extent that they fully understand where we are.
You know, you said that. I rang my mum the other day, who it's not even on WhatsApp or who doesn't have really use the computer that much, and she knew what DeepSeek was, and
Oh
I
wow.
was like, oh, okay, well, because it had been on the news and it had been in the
Yeah.
zeitgeist, so that's quite interesting. I thought,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So people know are aware of it, but I don't think, like you say, people are really aware of how they can implement it or how they can use it.
Yeah.
And there's that thing, isn't there, that when a new technology comes out, it's first exciting and innovative, and people are being very creative with it, and then after a while, it takes a while for businesses to think about how they can use it, or for there to be a standard for how we use it. What if you could master the most powerful business tools of our generation in just a few short hours? I've seen firsthand that the AI revolution is creating a massive opportunity gap. And right now, that gap is growing exponentially between those who do understand how to grasp and take full advantage of AI's revolutionary power and those that don't. I'm Harry Verity, the co-founder and the course leader at AI to the World. And through AI to the World, we've helped businesses implement savings and additional revenue of up to £500,000 over the course of 1 year by implementing the latest AI tools and strategies. Here's what most training programs get wrong. They teach outdated techniques. They focus on theoretical knowledge and not on generating actual revenue. And finally, they lean into AI hype without backing up their claims. That's why we've created the AI to the World Mastery Program. Our flagship AI with Cold Email video course includes over 50 dedicated videos and shows you how to begin generating revenue in under 1 week. It's self-paced learning that fits your schedule by a former journalist and industry expert, and it also gives you access to our community for up to 3 months. Our students consistently report revenue increases of between 15 and 20%, 3 to 5 days of research condensed into 20 minutes, and the tools and techniques to be able to emulate this yourself, and a 32% higher response rate with personalized emails generated by AI done the right way. Investing in our AI masterclasses gives you lifetime access to our course materials, regular content updates as AI evolves, and complimentary community access for 3 months. If you want expert advice and guidance from a former national newspaper journalist and an AI tech strategist, do check out the page below for more details of the courses that we offer.
Yeah, yeah, like we have some new modalities, like we have vision, we have voice. Like my startup is working also with video interactive avatars, but we also have real-time API integrated. So you have all these new modalities that enable new possibilities. But for many companies, if you look at them, like the company for which I'll be doing a project soon, what I'll actually do is I'll apply computer vision with image classification models. So something that was available, well, like 2014, 2015. It's just that like now, since there was like a more AI became like more widespread, they understood the importance of AI and automation, and they learned about like the agentic AI, and so now they wanna implement AI within their business.
Yeah.
But we're gonna apply algorithms that were available and were quite efficient even in 2014, 2015.
It's a really good point. And image classification is what we were talking earlier with the ImageNet, where an AI
Yeah.
can detect what image is what based on the having been trained on that data set. When we're talking about combining it with computer vision, it's when you can take a photo of anything and the AI can actually detect what it is and detect the pattern in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the vision component
Vision
of
component of
language
it, yeah.
models.
So in effect, when we think this is brand new, amazing technology that you can take a picture and AI will say that is a glass with coffee in, or that's a camera. In fact, we're actually using technology from 2014, 2015. It's just we've found a better, more innovative way to utilize it.
Yes, but let
You
me
can
let
put
me
some
add,
caveats there.
yeah,
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 yeah.
let me add one comment here. Because actually the multimodality. Oh, I guess I was just holding it.
It's just yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. What? Can you remind me the question?
Yeah, you were gonna add some
Yes,
caveats.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
you're
One
gonna
comment
shoot
here.
me that. Yeah.
Yeah, so image classification was already available back then, but the vision component of language models and multimodality, that's a phenomenon that it was like 2022, 2021 when it was released for the first time. Like there was a research from OpenAI where they showed that like just like in the human brain, the same neuron can be activated when it looks at the text Haley Berry and the actual image of Haley Berry. And same for Spider-Man. When you see the word Spider-Man and the picture of Spider-Man, the same neuron gets activated in our brain. And what they proved with that research was that same can be replicated in artificial neural networks that replicate some of our brain's functionality. And given that research, that gave birth to multimodality. We started talking about multimodality. Before we had natural language processing and computer vision as two separate fields of artificial intelligence, as a fields of science.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, to for that to like now, if we can apply, send a photo and ask what's in this photo for a model to output text, this is actually a new development that came around 2021, 2022, something like this, I think.
Makes sense. So I guess the next question is: we've got all this technology that you know so much about.
Hmm.
If you're watching this podcast and you're inspired by all these developments that have been and all the possibilities, what do you think the best way is to go about, I guess, implementing them or experimenting to start your own business or to run money to run money to what is the best way, I guess, to start creating a business or start generating value with these AI models? What do you think the way in is to for people who have just sort of become aware of this technology and are inspired by all the possibilities?
Well, ask ChatGPT.
Yeah.
You should know. Well, I think besides that, new like video generation
Yeah.
models are like brand new. They're probably imperfect now, and they will be getting a lot of updates. And probably people who will start agencies generating videos with them will grow successful over time. So and like we've been through like several like tech trends that were like giving birth to new forms of businesses, like e-commerce, like back around 2014 maybe. Drop shipping was the next wave of e-commerce. I don't think from what I've heard, you can't be that successful nowadays with e-commerce or drop shipping. It was way easier back then. And then we had what big data, IoT, several new things that were coming up. I think now, like, yeah, text things, this is something that, like text AI, I think there are still probably possibilities within smaller organizations, but I think text is getting a widespread adoption within larger enterprises now. Maybe image as like vision, language modeling, then maybe this is something that still like small, medium organizations are applying now. Certainly, like voice, I think is still like for smaller organizations. If you're targeting like startups that want to be in, if you want to start a startup that is innovative, I think voice is still like not widely adopted, and it's definitely the next frontier. And then I'm pretty sure the next frontier will also be a video. And like at A.Recruit, we are already working both with voice and with video.
Go on then, tell me about AI Recruit. I actually haven't asked you in that much detail about it. So what actually is AI Recruit? This is your startup that you're working on, and what's the business model, and then what are the future plans?
Yeah, so yeah, we actually didn't discuss that
Yeah.
before. Well, I think since we last spoke, it went through like so much development. I put so many hours there that it's like completely different now. What we're doing is we have a subject matter expert in HR who's working with us and helps us to shape this platform to be the best possible way. And my co-founder, business partner, Billy.
Our dear friend Billy. Yeah,
Yeah,
shout out to Billy. Yeah.
yeah, shout out to Billy.
Yeah.
Billy is also a great entrepreneur, extremely experienced, raised millions of dollars in funding before. And so for him, this is like another startup. For me, this is also a second startup. So I think we are in a much better shape now to build a successful venture. So we are very excited to be building this one, especially like building it together, given like how we, given our work ethics and how we like what we're doing and how we like working with each other. This is super cool, and having subject matter experts on board, that makes even better.
Yeah, so we should say Billy is a mutual friend of ours and Alan's business partner. Used to be a senior entrepreneur senior engineer at Visa, the credit
Yeah.
card. And he has a PhD, I believe, in AI and philosophy as well. Extremely talented, smart guy, and yeah, Silicon Valley guy, knows how to raise some funds. And
Yeah.
so, do you think that's really the success of any AI business now? Is that you need an engineer, someone who's got the sort of business nous, and also like a subject matter expert, and that combination of those three is really the killer thing you need.
Yeah, like one of the most important aspects at like early stage startup is usually the team.
Yeah.
Like the investors are usually at this stage, they're usually looking at the team the most often. Yeah, so I mentioned the team, but like the actual value proposition of the startup, I think
Yeah,
is
what is
huge.
it that you're actually doing? Yeah, is it with AIRecruit? Yeah.
So you imagine you apply for a job, right?
Right.
And then you get an email probably, right? It says like, "Hey, Harry, I think you're great, and we would like to invite you to our job interview." So in currently, if you went for that job interview, you'd probably have a video call with the recruiter. Now imagine if instead of the human recruiter, you get a recruiter in the form of video, the a person who speaks to you and asks you questions, but in a way that is unbiased. Like if you like, AI has no preference in the race, gender, so it can have much better opinion on and actually just evaluate your responses instead of just like maybe. Well, we also like take a look at the video, but we teach AI to evaluate your responses. So you naturally also have some small talk, but we distill these questions and we distill these answers, and then do the right scoring to have the right rate of your interview.
Yep.
So to screen for the best candidates, so that your company would only hire best people. And this is the value proposition that we want to give, a platform that you can easily integrate with your applicant tracking systems, or even without applicant tracking systems. But you don't have to go to all these interviews by yourself. You can just send an AI avatar.
Yeah. I think time is at an end. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. We'll just quickly wrap up. So I guess yeah. Yeah. One last question for you, which is, do you think the future of jobs is going to be, or applying for jobs is going to be, you don't apply for jobs. Your agent or your AI takes care of things automatically, and so people will know if you the employer will know if you're a fit or not, because it will have so much data on you, and it will just be worked out.
Well, the answer is I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so
Very
dynamic.
honest answer. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's everything is so dynamic that you
yeah.
just can't predict. I mean, like there are like multiple phenomenons coming at the same time. You have on the one hand you have technological advancements, on the second hand you have like societal changes. On the third hand, like even political landscape is shifting. Like you can see like from more left to more right over the world.
Yeah.
So with that and like some of them like recent project in US, like $500 billion Stargate, you just these are informations that you're getting. You wake up on the next day and you learn that like they're gonna invest $500 billion into AI. So it's really hard to predict anything in these circumstances because it's not non-linear. I think we're going so exponentially right now that it's just, yeah, it's hard to do any predictions.
That's very interesting point. So I guess agility is the number one skill you need to have in this
Yeah,
age.
yeah, I recently saw the tweet from, no, it was on
Yeah.
Reddit. I think it was the same Reddit that you read. Sam Altman answering the question, what are the things that you should invest in given that like all this development of AI? And I think he said res what's the word for like being resistant to like many circumstances?
Resilience.
Resilience, that's a word, yeah. And adaptability was the second. I don't remember. There was a third and fourth, but you can check it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Alan, it's been fascinating speaking to you, my man. I really appreciate you coming on. I think we've gone on a deep dive there, all the way from DeepSeek and what's going on to your AI startup, to where the world is going to be in a year's time. So it'll be fascinating to catch up with you in 6 months or a year to find out what the landscape looks like and what your startup looks like as well.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Henry.
Yeah, Alan,
It's
it's
been
been
a
a
pleasure.
pleasure. Thank you, my man, and thank you everyone for watching. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.